Hello, and welcome to Dolphin's Dive, the weekly strategically minded Handelabra stream hosted by Logic Dolphin. Handelabra believes in civil rights for everyone and in being as inclusive as possible, so any comments or activity actively working against those goals are not welcome and will not be tolerated. You can follow us at Handelabra Games on Twitch or Handelabra on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. You can follow me personally at Logic Dolphin on Twitch, Discord, YouTube, or pretty much any avenue. Sentinels of the Multiverse, Bottom of the Ninth, One Deck Dungeon, Aeon's End. Wow, actually, I'm not even saying all the games. Sentinels of the Multiverse, Sentinels of Earth Prime, Bottom of the Ninth, One Deck Dungeon, One Deck Galaxy, Aeon's End, Spirit Island, and Horizons of Spirit Island are all available on Steam, iOS, and Android devices, with the exceptions of One Deck Dungeon, which is also available on Switch, and One Deck Galaxy, which is in early access on Steam. You can find more information on those games at handelabra.com. And here I am with One Deck Galaxy. It's actually been a while since I played One Deck Galaxy. Not that I'm bored with it by any means, but there's just been a lot going on my end. Plus, there's been some beta testing on the fourth adversary, which has just been released yesterday, Wednesday, December 20th. And I'll read the Steam thread. The Darkstar Syndicate begins experimentation. Darkstar Syndicate adversary now available. A new adversary has just been introduced to One Deck Galaxy Digital, Darkstar Syndicate. The Darkstar Syndicate is a mysterious organization of infamous charlatans who believe a number of things you know to be quite factually untrue. For example, stars would be better if they didn't emit light. Unfortunately, they are quite well funded. Want them to stop their bad experiments? Simply prove them wrong. They'll listen. Probably. Over the course of the game, the Darkstar Syndicate will perform a series of experiments. You will need to spend some of your own hard-earned science to shut down their bad ideas. Fortunately, you'll earn some rewards along the way. Every so often, they will attempt their grand finale, to darken all the stars. You'll need to foil these plans as well with increasing difficulty. Can you still achieve your own goals while preventing the Darkstar Syndicate from getting out of hand? So, it was released publicly yesterday. Hasn't been showcased on Handelabra Live yet, but I did double check that I can go ahead and show it today, so we will. I have played the tutorial. I do not wish to play it. Darkstar Syndicate. Here we are. Base difficulty is 2. If I play on a harder, it's 4. During setup, a random event is put into play. And unlike the other adversaries, you don't have a time. Oh, there's the time passes. There isn't a. Trying to remember what the phrase is because it's been a while since I played this game. You don't accumulate influence on this adversary. As it says here, at the start of the adversary phase, instead of gaining influence, the adversary gains the top card of the deck as science. So it has its own science gauge. At the end of the phase, if there are more revealed events, experiments plus salvage, than your Federation level, you are overwhelmed. So we start with a random event put into play. You are at Federation level 1, which your Federation level is. It starts at 1 and it increases based on the amount of milestones that you've accumulated. Let's get rid of those. I just wanted to show that for demonstration. The Escalate, which triggers if like the encounter cards accumulate too much influence or otherwise, the adversary gains the top card of the deck as science. So instead of gaining influence, they gain science. The escalation, they gain science as well. The Confrontation card also plays a little differently. You cannot freely flip the Confrontation card. During setup, it is placed with Rhetorical Banishment side up, which is this side here. If there are ever at least X science on the adversary, they are discarded and the Confrontation card is flipped. If the Confrontation card is already on the Stop the Finale side, its instructions are followed instead. So we're kind of forcibly having to confront the adversary with these collections of dice and fleets and science at the end. But we flip it if they accumulate too much science, in which case we're on the Stop the Finale side. If there are X science on the adversary, immediately discard the highest science card from the adversary and 10 cards from the deck. If all the boxes below and in salvage are full during the results phase, this card is flipped and the lowest science card from the adversary is discarded. So remember, if there's X science on the adversary, it's discarded. X is the highest number, or it's the lowest revealed number that's seen here. This counts up, unlike the other adversaries where it counts, I guess this counts up as well. This one counts down. This one counts up. Starts the game at 9. The first time you confront, it's 10. The third time, or second time you confront, the third row is 11. Then it's 12, and then you win. On harder mode, it's 8, 9, 9, 10. So at the start of the game, if we get at least 9 science on the adversary, they are discarded, and the confrontation card is flipped. And then on this side, after you've discarded the science, they start reaccumulating science again. If there are X science on the adversary, which is 9 to begin with, discard the highest science card from the adversary and also discard 10 cards from the deck. But once we successfully cover this 14-14 or other salvage cards, which we'll talk about in a second, then we flip this back, in the process discarding the lowest science card from the adversary, which means that you have a head start towards the next round of 9. So it's a constant game of they flip to this side, we have to flip them back. They flip back to this side, we have to flip them back. They flip back to this side, we have to flip them back. Each time is harder and harder because there will be these salvages that pop up. Alright, experiments. The Dark Star Syndicate launches various experiments during the game. Each time an event is revealed, it remains in play face up as an experiment with negative effects until shut down. Dice placed in experiment boxes cannot be removed once placed, but are returned to the general supply during reset. And transfer research. During the action phase, you can move science from the starbase to an experiment. If there are now enough science to satisfy one or more goals, you gain the benefits immediately. Each goal is only claimed once per game. When the shutdown goal is reached, the science is discarded and the experiment moves to salvage, displaying new dice boxes and disc rings. So these event cards show us what that's all about. So we start the game with a random event that's in play. So inoperability taxes has this extra clause. You may place dice in the salvage area. Black dice may only be used as if they were a color of dice on this card. Salvage is 333. You can place dice here, but you can only use the Ultratech dice as if they were a color that's been placed in this salvage area down here. Once you've once you've dealt with the rest of this event card, which is basically once you get the 12 science on here by moving your science from your starbase to the experiment, this shuts down, but the salvage moves underneath the stop the finale. So you have to not just do the 14-14 on stop the finale, but also this 333, which is why it's harder to flip back once you get to this side as the game goes on. Dice placed in experiment boxes cannot be removed once placed, but are returned to the general supply during reset. Reset is the end turn, I believe. So they cannot be moved, I guess? Okay, I don't know what this rule particularly means, so I guess we'll see it as it goes. But we do get some extra effects as we move science over here. This card gives us 3 science. If we put 3 science in, we also roll an Ultratech die. If we put in 6 science, we roll another Ultratech die. This happens sequentially, but only once per game. At 9 science, we roll 2 Ultratech dice. At 12 science, this is shut down, and then this salvage is placed underneath this card. There's also time dilators. You may place dice in the salvage area during the results phase. Discard 3 cards for each box that is not filled. So yeah, I guess the salvage area is a common thing we have to deal with. But we also have the effects of gaining an Ultratech 3, gaining an Ultratech 4, gaining an Ultratech 5, and shutdown. Adminfinity. You may place dice in the salvage area. You may not resolve the starbase unless the total dice value in the gray box is at least as high as the quantity of dice on the starbase. Interesting. The benefits, though, we get roll an ultra tech die, launch a probe, shut down. Techno siphons. To place a tech star on a tech, you must also place a tech star, a star-based disc, or a die of value 3+ here. But at 3 science, you gain a tech disc. 6 science, you gain a tech disc. 9 science, you gain 2 tech discs. At 12 science, you shut down. Mandatory sightseeing. For each card added to the discovery zone, spend a fleet. If none are available, discard 2 cards instead. Any sciences are based on gaining fleets. The salvage is a cost of 4 fleets, but this time it's not actually part of the experiment itself. It's only once it's a salvage thing. So all of these negative effects that we have to deal with, but once we do put enough science on here to shut this down, we no longer have to deal with the negative effects, although we lose all of the positives, so we can only claim them once per game anyway. But then the stop the finale is harder to accomplish anyway. And I guess the salvage... the experiment moves to salvage, display new dice. Okay, yeah, so salvage is added after the shutdown is reached. Okay, enough talking. Let's play the game. The way that I always play this, if you've never watched me play this, is I just generate random numbers to decide the homeworld and society and also the adversary, but I'm deciding this is Dark Star Syndicate since I might as well play it. So let's generate 2 random integers between 1 and 5. Random.org has gotten me 2 and 4. So the Felici, mathematicians. So we have 5 energy discs, 2 materials, 3 diplomacy, 2 tech discs. 1 crystals is our material, or is our resource. Our innate milestone is to have 12 fleets. Our innate tech noble efficiency, resolve up to 2 location rows, then discard any dice and discs used, which allows us to basically reuse them and gain influence twice in a single turn instead of just once. The Mathematician Society has 3 milestones. End of turn, have exactly 15 influence at discovery zone locations. End of turn, have exactly 11 science and exactly 11 fleets. Action, discard dice totaling exactly 66. Very hard milestones to achieve. This is one of the harder societies. We get precise calculations as our tech. Innately, we roll a die from the pool and place it in storage. You may spend a fleet to calibrate it. At Federation level 3, that is instead roll a die from the pool and place it in storage. You may spend up to 2 fleets to calibrate it. And then at Federation level 5, which is the highest Federation level, place a die from your pool in storage, set it to any value. So what is important about the value here? Dice in your pool with the value in storage can be used to fill a small box of any color and value. So, for instance, say that this is a 2 that is in here. Any 2s that are in your pool can fill a small box of any color and value. So if this is a yellow 2 that's in here, if I have a blue 2, I can put that in a small box of any color and value. So it could be a yellow 5 or pink 4 or a blue 6. As long as it has a 2 in it, it can go in there, which gives me more flexibility for filling in small boxes, theoretically. In practice, this tech kind of sucks because you generally don't have a lot of control that you can complete to calibrate the die that you roll, but you have to waste a die from your pool, generally the worst. Well, roll a die from the pool, sorry. Your pool is only at the end. But you don't have any control over what the value is, and it very well could just be a number that you don't have much of, and spending a fleet to calibrate it, I don't know. If you roll a 6 is actually not good because your 6s already are strong enough to go in boxes of any value, not necessarily of any color. So you'd like it to be on the 1s, but if you have a lot of 1s, then you're kind of sad anyway, so. I don't know. Also, the milestones are very hard to achieve, but we'll see how we manage here. Enough talk, have at you. So remember, if you've never played One Deck Galaxy, I guess this isn't, I remember, But the way that the turn goes, we have the adversary turn, and there's a lot of things that the game actually forces you to click through unless you disable all of it, which I have because I've played this a lot. We start with 2 fleets and a random science card. We have 4 science, which is really good. And the event that the Dark Star Syndicate is starting with today is mandatory sightseeing. For each card added to the discovery zone, spend a fleet. If none are available, discard 2 cards instead. Oh, that's not a good one to start with. I have to spend my 2 fleets and then discard 4 cards. Fantastic. So yeah, this is the explanation that appears unless you click don't show again. Otherwise, you have to just click anywhere. Experiments and salvage. The Dark Star Syndicate launches various experiments during the game. Each time an event is revealed, it remains in play face up as an experiment with negative effects until shutdown. To shut down an experiment, you must move 12 science from the starbase to the experiment. You can do this as an action during the act phase over multiple turns, and each 3 science will earn you a reward. Once an experiment has been shut down, it instead becomes salvage, which is explained later. At the end of this phase, if there are more revealed events if there are more revealed experiments and salvage than your Federation level, you are overwhelmed. Dice placed in experiment boxes cannot be removed once placed, but are returned to the general supply during a reset. And we'll just go through this every time until I decide to get rid of it. Science. Instead of influence, the Dark Star Syndicate gains the top card of the deck as science once each turn. If there are ever at least X science on the adversary, they discard it, and the confrontation card is flipped to the stop the finale side. The confrontation card may not be manually flipped. The adversary has 1 revealed defense. This is not more than your Federation level of 1. The Dark Star Syndicate continues its research. And yeah, it handled all of this automatically, but notice that my 2 fleets are gone. And we discarded 4 cards. There's actually 2 that are here, or there's 2 more than what were originally here, but one of that is time passes. I don't know what the other one was. Time passes is 1 time. Oh, right. Actually, there is no time passing here? Is that what's happening? Because the fleets are themselves cards. Oh, no. I get it now. Because, sorry, it's been a while since I played this game. The fleets are counted with influence, and the backsides of the 1-deck Galaxy cards have a side for 1 influence and a side for 2 influence. When you start with 2 fleets, you have 2 influence. Discarding them is discarding 1 card. So the 5th card is the fleet card, and then the 6th card is the time passes card. All right. So to do our rhetorical banishment, we need to have a blue 5, a blue 6, and a total of 19 pips on pink dice. Which is difficult probably with what we have here. We haven't rolled yet, but I just want to kind of gauge where we are. We have 3 encounters, which is pretty bad. 2 3s and a 4, which kind of is a gauge of the difficulty associated with that. Probably will not be able to fight the Solidarians. That does require our Starbase to be at level 2 so that we can put 2 Starbase discs on there. 2 Terra Infirmas. This one requires more science than the other, but lower dice, basically. But yeah. And then the experiment. Mandatory sightseeing. So if we do like decide, hey, I'm gonna take this card out and I add it to my collection, then during the discovery phase, I add a card here, which means I have to spend a fleet or discard 2 dice if I have no fleets, or sorry, discard 2 cards. And discarding cards is bad because it gets you through the deck faster, which is why it's a bad effect. But if I do put science on here, we gain fleets, and this is progress towards shutting this down. All right, let's see what this roll is, and then make decisions from there. Let's see. Roll a die from the pool and place it in storage. We can't gain any fleets this turn, so I guess like there's no reason not to do this right now. Oh, it is from my pool. Okay. Even though it's phrased a little weirdly. Roll a die from the pool, roll a die from the pool, place a die from your pool. See, I was thinking this is the pool, but it's not. This is the supply, right? That's the way. Okay. I guess the main difference is in 2-player mode, the pool is both people's dice. But at Federation level 5, it's only your pool, not the pool. That's all I can think of. I don't know. So in terms of what we have 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s, a 4, a 5, and 2 6s. So if we didn't have to roll any of our dice, then any roll would be okay except for 4 and 5. It would be less effective, like 50% less effective. But since we do have to roll one of our dice, it's probably just going to be one of the 1s. In which case, now we're looking for a 2, a 3, or a 6, and preferably a 2 or a 3 since those are less valuable. It doesn't look like we can do the rhetorical banishment because our pinks are pretty bad. The annoying thing about putting science on here is that they're obviously cards that would be going towards upgrading the starbase and all that, but also gaining a science card generally comes from taking cards off of here, which we only have 1 since there's only 1 location here. And furthermore, that means that they'll add cards to the discovery zone that we have to spend fleets to place down to begin with. So there's gonna be a lot of cards that we're spending just to resolve this experiment. A new one will pop up when the deck reshuffles. That's at least the nice thing, is that we know there's only going to be like 28 cards until the next event is revealed, but I don't know, it seems rather costly, isn't it? I don't know. All right, let's think about the Terra Infirmas. We don't have 7 science, so we can't do this one. We do have 4 science. Gaining this as a colony is probably better because it does give us a material, which we do need a lot of for this. Only for the first objective, though. Second objective needs more energy, and we always need diplomacy for this. This looks way more complicated than one deck dungeony. I kind of combined both names. It is a bit complicated, but it's very similar at the same time. Like this idea that you're putting dice into boxes, like, you know, they have to match the color, you're trying to fit a certain value. Really, the tricky part is that there's a lot that you can do, so it becomes very overwhelming, no pun intended, because there is an overwhelm mechanic in this game. It's very like less linear than one deck dungeon because you can't cover all the squares, so you kind of have to decide which squares to cover. I had a very bad start here with 3 encounters though, and if they escalate, that's actually adding a card, because the escalation is the adversary gains the top card of the deck as signs, so they gain this faster, which means that we get to the flip side faster. Okay. Is there any way we can use noble efficiency? We don't have any fleets. It would just be on the 9 science, and we can't put dice of value 6 in here, so we can't even gain it this turn unless we were to like make an ultra tech. Ooh. Alright, so can I get the Terra Infirma? I'd have to put the 6 here. My remaining ones are bad. I don't have to put the 6 here if I happen to roll like the right value. As long as all of the yellows here make this 13, I use precise calculations, which has to roll one of these dice, and it has to be one of these values that are here, and they are all different, which is really annoying. Then I could put any value in here. Well, not any value. Like if I roll a 4, I could put the 4 in here. Like this rule, dice in your pool with the value in storage can be used to fill a small box of any color and value. And is it worth spending our 4 science to gain that card? Probably. More dice, more options, right? And it gets rid of the escalate down the road. But I do have to roll good. And I can't calibrate it. It's a 67% chance that this works. Okay. So I can put this 4 here. And then I can put the 4 science down. And that finishes that one. Any reason to take Verdant Network? Roll a diplomacy. Increase fruit of your dice by 2, where fruit is representing the number of fruits that you have. And I would only have the 1 fruit, so increase 1 of your dice by 2, but roll a diplomacy. Kind of similar, except we lose, instead of rolling a material, we increase a die by 2, but this scales if I gain fruits. I think I'd rather just have the dice. All right, so gaining Terra Infirma does mean that we will add a card during the Discover phase, and that's either a fleet or 2 dice. Annoyingly, I can't gain 2 fleets with these dice, so the best I could do is gain 1 fleet at the cost of 2 dice. I could also not do that and just accept discarding 2 dice to either study this, which will also cost 2 cards, or just probe. Probe would definitely be a lot better, right? Because if I probe, it only takes the top card. But if I study, this card gets replaced, but because of this rule, I discard 2 cards. So like, this costs 2 cards, this costs 1 card in a sense. I think we do want to get the science back, since we do want to be able to deal with the experiments. I guess that's what we do. Didn't really have many options that turn. And do the probe. Get 4 back. Perfect. Just a reminder about the experiments in the salvage. Each time an event is revealed, it remains in place face up as an experiment with negative effects until shut down. Shutting down an experiment requires 12 science moved from the starbase. Do this as an action during the action phase over multiple turns. Each 3 science earns your reward. Once an experiment has been shut down, it instead becomes salvage. At the end of this phase, if there are more revealed experiments in salvage than your Federation level, you're overwhelmed. Remember, we have to actually level up our Federation level. So, yeah. Instead of gaining influence, they gained science, and they gained... I forget what number they have before, but they're at 6 now. If they are ever at 9 science, discard them and the confrontation is flipped to stop the finale. Alright, we have a location, Nomnomud. Nomnomud? Nomnomud? Pretty sick roll, looks like. All right, so we have to either have 12 fleets or have 15 influence at Discovery Zone locations, or have exactly 11 science and exactly 11 fleets, or discard dice that total exactly 66. And we're currently at 43 after our quote-unquote sick roll. We have 12 dice. If they were all 6s, we'd have 72. So it is theoretically possible. We just have to roll only 6s. All right, now we can't actually claim. Can't get any influence on it this turn either. We don't have any science for Terra Infirma or Solidarians, although that's probably just, those are gonna go. If they do escalate, we do gain them as science. Although in exchange, the Dark Star Syndicate also gains science, so it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I feel like we need to increase our Federation level, because if we do get to the second experiment with our reshuffle, we will get overwhelmed, and an overwhelm means you lose the game unless you spend an adversary disc, and you only gain adversary discs if you confront. We don't even have a blue 5, so I can't even like partially cover that unless I were to use precise calculations and get lucky. Is there any like merit to upgrading the starbase in this game? Upgrading the starbase gives us like extra starbase discs. I mean, we do have to get to like starbase level or class 2 at some point in order to put 2 starbase discs here. But it does cost 8 science to get there. It makes getting 1 fleet easier. And we can do 1 more probe. Class 3 requires another 10 science to get there, so 18 science total. Probing costs 2 dice instead. And there's another row for 3 fleets, as well as another starbase disc. And if we spend 12 science here, 30 total, then we get 4 starbase discs. One of the 3 fleets only costs 2 dice. We can probe 3 times. But also studying is discounted by 1 innately. Generally, it makes it easier to accumulate fleets in science, which would make this easier to get, but we do need to like get something before this deck shuffles, and if we only focus on getting to class 4 before we do any of this, we'll just lose. Like, we'll lose in the first reshuffle. So I guess I'm just gonna focus on gaining fleets to get to the have 12 fleets condition. And we could also try to gain science along the way. The end of turn check for this is always annoying because it's... There was something about the check that never really worked exactly correctly for what I thought it would do. I forget where though. Because I mean, I feel like this happens after the starbase check, but isn't there a way that you can gain or lose science or fleets afterwards? I don't think there is, but I don't remember why. I remember in the past thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna get this condition this turn, and that ended up being wrong. Maybe it's that the starbase doesn't actually contribute, or like the end of turn happens once you get to the end of turn phase. I don't know. Or it's the end of turn. I don't know. Anyway, if I put my remaining dice in here, I have 7 dice. I get 5 fleets. I have 7 dice. I can use them to gain Chilonis and Namnamud. Doing that will put me at 11 science. But it does mean these cards will get replaced, so I'll have to spend 2 fleets because of this rule. If my goal is to get to 12 fleets ASAP, that feels like I shouldn't do that. On the other hand, we do gain fleets with science that's put on here. And it kind of pays for itself in a sense. Like the fleet that I spend to look at this card in the discovery zone, I put 3 science here, which is what this costs, and I get that fleet back. And that makes progress towards getting rid of this rule, which allows me to hoard fleets better. Salvages 4 fleets for what it's worth. Like, I think I do want to do a probe. Do I want to... Like, I could put some of this dice here to get more, like, 1 more fleet. It's kind of awkward numbers of dice, though. because a probe costs 3 dice. Studying is either 3 dice or 4 dice. So I can't do more than one of these actions if I were to do that. I guess I do want to... So I'll study non-Numud and I'll do a probe, I think. I'm at 10 signs. I could upgrade. We have 2 4s, so I could do it efficiently. Although I did say that was not going to help me with that, but benefit is that I could then get a fleet more easily down the road. Okay, I think I'll do the first upgrade. Okay, so they got to the 9 signs, so they flipped. While on the stop the finale side, to flip the confrontation card, you must fill the boxes on the confrontation card and all boxes in the salvage area. And if they do get to 9 signs, you've got me. If they do get to 9 signs, where does it say? Oh, it's over here. If there are 9 science on the adversary at this point, immediately discard the highest science card from the adversary and 10 cards from the deck. This is kind of bad because these guys are going to escalate and there's time passes, or not time passes, but the influence, which is a science card. If they get to 9 science that way, that actually means that they do a reshuffle like immediately. So we probably don't want that to happen then. Not really good there. I can do that, and that stops the finale. You've Got Mail is such a chill location, honestly. I like it. All dice here must have different values, which is the hard part, but I feel like it's really easy. Like the 10-10 is actually the better version because other than the dice that I just put in here, like if I have done like a 6 and a 4 in here, like if I were to say that, like the other one would have to be 5, 3, 2, which is like 3 more dice to get 2 more influence, which is generally not worth. But just getting the first 2 influence is really nice, and since I do have noble efficiency, I can actually do this twice. Generally, the way I think of it is that 1 influence is equivalent to about 1 die. If you're spending more than 1 die to gain an influence, then it's not worth, usually. Like this 9 here, very expensive. This 4 fleets for 2 influence is also not worth it. Because a fleet is generally 1 die. So this is 4 dice. That's just my, like, idea of influence. It's not necessarily correct. But all my blues have to go there. And, alright, they'll stop the finale. Well, normally there's not really a reason to stop the finale immediately. There's no science on the adversary, so it's kind of more effective to stop the finale when there is a science card on them. However, we do have this triple threat. Terra Infirma and Solidarians are both going to escalate, which adds a science card to the adversary. And if the card that they gain themselves puts them at 9, then they immediately do crap. So the 3 cards have to have an average of less than 3 signs. I guess we can look at the deck. There are a lot of 4s in there. Also a lot of 2s. Half the deck is 2s. There are 6 2s, there are 6 4s, and there's 1 3, which means that the average value is 3. But there's actually a big variation in that. Oh man. They could be 3 4s. And we lose. It could be 4 4 3 and we lose. 4 2 2 isn't a loss, however. Question is, how much am I worried about? I mean, there is a percentage chance that we lose. It's non-zero. But how likely is it, is the question. I mean, naively, I want to say we're more likely to not lose than we are to lose, just naively. But I don't know if that's correct, because 4-2-2 is not a loss. 4-4-2 is a loss. 4-4-4-4 is a loss. 2-2-2 is not a loss. 4-3-2 is a loss. But because of like the symmetry of this, it's kind of 50-50-ish. But 4-2-2 is a loss, 4-4-2 is a loss. Yeah, the symmetry is like, it's 50-50-ish, but I guess since 4-3-2 is a loss, it skews towards the loss side. 3-2-2 isn't a loss, but 3-4-4 is a loss. So I think it is basically 50-50 without having to like actually count all the possibilities. Because I think you could basically say every loss condition is paired with a win condition, with the exception of 4-3-2, which is a loss with no victory pair. Or not victory, but non-loss pair. So I guess it's actually skewed towards losing, so we do have to stop the finale. That's annoying. It's also annoying because I can't gain as many fleets this turn as I would like, since I have to dedicate dice to this, and then we're probably going to immediately have to stop the finale again because they're going to gain too many science cards in the meantime. But we are going to gain these cards as science as well, so it's not terrible. Okay, we can gain 3 fleets that way. I don't presume there's a way to gain 2 fleets because we have to have 2 dice that are equal, and my dice that are on Stop the Finale are kind of forced. I can't remove any of the blues because I can remove those 3 pips. That's the only one. 14 is with my 3 highest dice. I could remove a 4 out of that by doing this instead, but the 4 doesn't pair with anything either. So I think I could gain 1 fleet, but I think a probe is better. Let's see, because having exactly 11 science and exactly 11 fleets, if I gain these as science, I will be at 9 science. So if this probe is a 2, then I'll actually be on par for 11 science. If it's not a 2, I think I could put a science card from the Starbase onto the Dark Star Syndicate to get to 11. Maybe. Actually, no, I don't think I can. Well, if it's a 3... or 3-3 is 10, so no, that doesn't work. If it's a 4, 4-4-3 would be 11, and I put the 2 on the thing. So 3 is bad, 2 is exactly equal, 4 is... I can put a science card, so yeah. It's weird that 2 is better than 3. Well, I got 2. So they got a 4 from their own thing. And the escalations Okay, they got a 4 and they got a 4. Oh, well, we're stopping the finale again. Yay! Also, we're at 2 cards left in the deck. But we are at 11 science. So if we gain 6 fleets. Also, the unseen is here again, because of course it is. Okay, so let's just ignore this because we don't have to deal with it right away. There's no, like, the risk that past round was unique to that round, honestly. If I gain 6 fleets, I'll have exactly 11 science and 11 fleets, right? But I think this is where my check is off, because it's not after. Weird, what happened? I lost. Weird. I had this issue a couple weeks ago as well, but I got new cables, so it's not the cables problem. Kind of feels like my USB thing is going bad. I don't know. I'll worry about it later. Yeah, so I can't actually gain any science. So all my other dice have to be used. I mean, they don't have to be used, but it'd be kind of wasteful to not use them. And I really have to gain a Federation level, because gaining these fleets will actually cause a reshuffle. So if I don't, if this doesn't work the way that I would expect it to, which is after the star-based things are done, that it counts 11 science and 11 fleets, and not that as soon as I hit engage. Is that gonna be trash if that is the case? Because I'm not gonna be able to, like, I can't get 12 fleets this turn anyway. Like, I actually, no, I can. I can spend science to gain a fleet. Or, you know, spend 6 science to gain a second fleet. So no, that's not quite true. I can actually gain the extra fleet to get to the 12 fleet innate. I don't really want to spend the science though, because I am at exactly 11. But if this doesn't time the way that, because I remember there being something quirky about this. But I can't remember what it was. I mean, it's not the case that I have to have 11 fleets and 11 sciences at any time during this starbase resolution, right? Like, it can't be that I get to 11 fleets here and then when I'm at 11 science it counts and then I get more science. No, it has to be after. It's either when I click engage and the end of turn starts, or it's after all of this wraps up and then before this next turn starts and then the turn ends. We're at the end of turn. I can't remember, like, so I'm just going to, I'm going to interpret it as if, like, because I want to do this. I just want to, okay? Don't judge me. I want to. Mathematicians are so annoying because we also have to have 15 influence. Exactly 15 influence. So like we need the locations that store a lot of influence, which You've Got Mail is one of them at least. So this is progress towards that, I guess. This 3 is just not doing anything, I guess. Resolving 2 rows don't do much. All right. Maybe it had to do with the upgrade on the starbase, but no, I got it, so it doesn't matter. We have gained a new adversary event, Techno-Siphons. To place a tech disc on a tech, you must also place a tech disc, a starbase disc, or a die of value 3+ here. Okay. All right, so now if we stop the finale, there is a bit of a merit to it in that they remove this card. If all the boxes below and in salvage are full during results phase, this card is flipped and the lowest science card from the adversary is discarded. There's only the 1 card, so it'd be that one. If we wait a turn, they could put a 2 under here and we'd have to remove the 2 and then they still have the 3. Whereas if we do it now and they put a 2 there, then they'll only have the 2. So we got the 11-11, 12 fleets we can actually get right now by spending science for mandatory sightseeing. These techs aren't really doing us anything, so we're not really gonna worry about them. I guess we're not using both of them. We do have two tech discs. I keep saying deck discs, I don't know why. 2 tech discs, so we can use one of them to do the tech and one of them over here. Or even the starbase disc, because we're not using them that much right now. The interesting thing is you don't really need to put science over here. Like, they are negative effects, and we can get rid of the negative effects by putting science over there, but we also don't have to. In a sense, this slows us down if we deal with them. Anyway, and also by putting this and then flipping it and making them salvages, it's actually then harder to stop the finale every turn anyway. It's kind of a weird thing to think about, that it's actually perhaps better to not engage with this part of the game, but let's not worry about that too much just yet. We can stop the finale, remove the science card that way. If I do want to do the unseen, ironically, we kind of don't care too much about it. The 2 tech discs aren't super valuable when you don't have techs or aren't using techs. Gaining 2 fleets, we're actually past the point where we care about fleets once we have this. I mean, I guess arguably you want to spend fleets for various other things. The main advantage to dealing with the unseen is that then the unseen is gone. But we could let it stay for a turn. Because it gaining 1 influence doesn't actually do anything, because this will just... It's not going to add a card, it's going to just rotate the one that's already there. I can't add one to You've Got Mail with how my dice are currently configured, unfortunately. I don't want to get rid of Hematib because I need to put other locations with high influence counts so that I can consider this one. Once I'm at Federation level 4, I'll probably just stop doing Federation levels. So we're gonna be at Federation level 3. Once I get to 4, like, we lose if we get the 5th adversary events, but you only need to be at Federation level 4 in order to do the final confrontation. So, like, we'll just ignore this one because this is, like, a waste of a turn. Like, your entire turn is dedicated to discarding your dice. So I think that's what we'll do. So let's spend 3 science to gain a fleet. This one. And gets that milestone. That upgrades precise calculations if I do want to use it. Roll a die from the pool, place it in storage, spend up to 2 fleets to calibrate it. And we do kind of want to get rid of our fleets because fleets here are cards that are not in the deck. So 12 fleets is 6 cards. If I do a reshuffle with 12 fleets, then the reshuffle will be with 6 fewer cards than if I had done it with no fleets. But the reshuffle is far away, so it's not a big priority right now. If I do the precise calculations, if I get a 2, that's kind of nice because I could place these 2s. Place that 4 there, and then I can put those 4s there. So I would like to re-roll this in hopes of getting a 4 or something that calibrates to a 4. It can go from 2 to 4 or to 6 to 4. So if this is anything but a 1, that's ideal. Alternatively, just calibrate these 2 directly. Spend a fleet to up this by 1, spend a fleet to up this by 1. Serves almost the same purpose, but without the RNG of maybe not being able to do it. I think that's better. There will be a spare 2, that can just be a fleet. Okay. Finale is stopped. Unseen is stopped. We will spend a fleet to replace this card, but we do have fleets to spare. 2 fleets or tech discs. The nice thing about tech discs, though, is that I could just completely ignore techno siphons. If I have a lot of tech discs, it's basically the same as not having a lot of tech discs, right? I don't foresee rapid deployment being super useful now that we've... I mean, I guess if I take rapid deployment, that also offsets mandatory sightseeing, but mandatory sightseeing does make this game go faster in the bad way, because... we have to spend fleets, which are cards, to add cards, basically. Or otherwise we discard cards. So I guess the tech discs, not really super happy about it, but don't really need the fleets anyway. You've got mail. Federation level 3, we're good. Nom Numma number 2 is here. It is another good influence hoarder. 17 materials is really hard though. $19 materials is also really hard. All right, so we have no encounters, so we don't have any lingering threats, which is good. I could just do the 2 influence route on here. 2 fleets, 2 science. Not really ideal. Do I have a 2 science card? I do. Gain that for the influence because we want to get 15 influence. We're at 4 right now. We need 11. It's a lot of cards, by the way. If I do this to You've Got Mail, it'll be at 6 influence, and that's the most we can put on it without overflowing this. And then once this is at 6 and we've gotten that, we can very easily claim it and get these probably. Roll an Ultra Tech for each 1/1/1/1. Gain an Ultra Tech 6. And that's actually really sick when this is the last water we need. Ultra Tech 6 plus an Ultra Tech die. Versus we get an energy, a material, and a tech disc. It's actually... Hello, Nizu? We could do precise calculations and maybe be able to do something with this 6/6. You can only put 2 influence on here at most. If I do the 6/6, I'm not putting, like, I have to spend the 2 science, and I'm not gonna do this because I don't have enough star-based discs. And I definitely don't have a good blue roll here, or at least my blues went over here. I guess that didn't have to go there. These could be anything. So I could do it this way. Oh, but I can't because the 6. But I can still get 9 there. 10 there. So yeah, if I roll a 2 with precise calculations, then this fills up easier. Let's see. So if this is at 6, this is at 2, so that'd be 8. So I have 3 more, so I'll be at 11. I just have to fit 4 more influence somewhere. I think we might be able to get it next turn. All right, let's roll this 1. Okay, 5's not good. I can calibrate it down to a 3. And then I can do these 2 3s. Then I spend the 2 science. And now I can put 3s there. And then I spend 4 fleets. So now there's not many cards under my starbase, which is good. Next reshuffle will be thick. Can't do anything with Namnamud. So what remaining dice do we have? A 6 and 3 2s. Who's the foe? It's the Dark Star Syndicate, which was just added to the early access publicly yesterday. So what they do is, instead of gaining influence, they gain science. And they have these experiments that we have to deal with if we choose to. These are extra restrictions. And the confrontation thing is a bit weird because we are on the confrontation side, but we can't freely flip it. Instead, if they gain too much science, then they're gonna threaten to turn all the stars dark. And to stop that, we have to stop the finale, which gets harder as we shut down these experiments. Or we could just not shut down the experiments, which is kind of the route that I'm taking here. So like mandatory sightseeing has the extra rule. For each card added to this discovery zone, spend a fleet. If none are available, discard 2 cards instead. We're kind of ignoring that. These are benefits you get if you deal with this. You spend your science and you can gain these benefits, and that 12 science, this shuts it down, but it's kind of expensive to shut it down. There's also techno siphons. To place a tech disc on a tech, you must also place either a tech disc, a starbase disc, or a die of value 3+ here. And if you put science on here, you gain progressively more tech discs. At 12 science, you shut this down. But when you shut it down, it's not actually gone forever, because then the salvage action must be resolved in order to do future stop the finales. So yeah, I feel like it just kind of feels like it's expensive, because like 12 science cards is cards you could have used for encounters or influence or starbase upgrades. And since the salvage is still there, like if this was an especially bad effect, it would be worth not doing. But I think the fleets aren't super bad to do. Honestly, the more annoying part of this game is I'm playing mathematicians. Mathematicians, I think, in my opinion, they are the worst homeworld. Or sorry, they're the worst society, not the homeworld. Homeworld is the Felici. The mathematicians are the worst society, not because they're mathematicians, because I myself am a mathematician, but because these are so hard to achieve versus the other societies that have like things that you sometimes trigger accidentally. It's just awkward. But I mean, I guess that's like a difficulty system in the game in a sense. All right. Do I want to gain a fleet? I guess. I'm definitely doing a probe, right? This was 3 fleets to do. Oh, we're not going to do that next round because that will accidentally give us Chilonis, and we don't want that. I think it's a fleet and a probe. Keep those there. They're at 5 science. The 6 is distance for some reason. Okay. So 6, 8, 10. I don't have enough fleets to do this. I thought it was 3 fleets, but it's 4. We can get a fleet this way. That's a way to get a fleet. Oh, but we don't want to gain the fleet, right? Never mind. Just kidding. Well, we're at 6, 9, 11. So I gotta gain 4 fleets. Or sorry, 4 influence. If I can somehow get to 17. I can do it if I do an ultra tech here. But that's kind of committing these that want to be over here anyway. I can calibrate this up. And then this could be an ultra tech. But that would do it, right? Because 4 and 2 is 6, 6 and 6 is 12, and 3 is 15. And we would have exactly 15 influence on Discovery Zone locations. Which, by the way, if you have the physical version of One Deck Galaxy, you might have noticed that this is different than the physical version, because the physical version says, at the end of your turn, have exactly 5 influence at 3 Discovery Zone locations. That one is so much worse. Because you can't even get this with like some locations. It's actually RNG, whether you can even get it or not. You might never get a location that has enough influence that you can put on it. But with this version, you can actually use this 5 and 3 to help out. So I calibrate this. And then I ultra tech this. And now it'll give us 15 influence at locations. And then I can put the remaining dice into the lab. I want to do a probe because I want to be able to upgrade the starbase maybe at this point. We're close to reshuffle, so I don't really want to have too many fleets. And I want to claim these locations next turn as well, or at least get rid of them somehow. We're not going to reshuffle the deck right away. There's 8 cards left in the deck. They're not going to discard 8 cards. But I do want to like claim these locations since they're already mainly there. And like tessellating sprockets, we said, is a pretty good tech to have. Otherwise, like the materials is something we do need to confront. We haven't confronted yet, but we're getting pretty close. So yeah, I think it should be fine. Reminds me of a card thing that Wolf Hunt has in his video, an edited pic of the applied numerology card renamed to effing math. Math, not even once. I don't really like reroll skills too much. Spend 2 fleets to roll 2 ultra techs. Don't really care for that, honestly. Like, fleets cost dice, also cost cards. Then re-roll any or all of your dice. Like, you could roll your 1s, 2s, and 3s, and then get 1s and 2s, right? So. Math is honestly your most hated subject in school. As a former math instructor, I disagree. I love math. Alright, probe. 11 is a bad number because I would overspend to upgrade the starbase, but I can upgrade next turn, I think. Let's be careful with deck count, but I do want to get rid of these cards in some capacity, but you don't have to do it right now because if I do it right now, they're going to get replaced and I have to spend a fleet. So we'll just leave it there. Do not upgrade just yet. Milestone achieved. Once you're at Federation level 4, you can win the game. As in, you have the ability to win the game. They did not start the finale, so that's good. So we want to avoid a reshuffle with adding influence. So like if I put a influence on You've Got Mail, we'll take a card from the deck, and that's fine. But if I like gain fleets and that puts me over, that's also bad. So let's be mindful of that. I do have to be also mindful of the fact that if I do claim all of these cards in some capacity, they are adding 4 cards in the Discover Zone next turn, and that's going to cost fleets. So I do have to keep some fleets. All right, so let's say I do this for You've Got Mail. There are 2 cards left in the deck. I'm absolutely trying to reshuffle with the maximum number of cards. Namnamud I will probably claim for science. Because 17 is hard to get, and we're pretty far from claiming it as a colony or attack anyway. Hematib's at an awkward juncture. I can only put 2 science on it. I do have 2 science. Shalonus is awkward because I can't put the 6 there. I'm just shy of pips. Precise calculations won't help with that. So I'd have to do an Ultra Tech or calibrate, but I'm low on fleets right now. I can only gain at most 2 fleets. So I think I have too many dice anyway. I can only gain at most 2 fleets because that will be 1 card. If I want to gain Chelonus, I have to add an influence on it, which will be 1 card. I can't do any probes at that point, because that will trigger a reshuffle. Actually, if I gain Hematip, I'm not going to trigger a reshuffle. It doesn't really matter which of these 2 I gain, I think. Can I actually upgrade to Starbase Class 4? It's 22 science. Actually, that's a lot of science. That would require a probe, right? I would need 11 more science. That requires me to gain both 4s. I don't want to do that. I want to gain You've Got Mail. Which means... But I do want to get rid of them because of their influence. Okay. So let's spend the science here. Because I want to gain the diplomacy. I don't care for these techs. Not the diplomacy, the materials. I gotta gain at most 2 fleets. It's kind of a waste of dice, but what if I were to confront? I don't think I can really do that. I'd have to use precise calculations and high roll it somehow, because I only have like 10 dice here. 11 if I use this one. I'd have to high roll the 5, like I'd have to make sure these 1s get placed in there, and then I'd have to get Ultra Techs. And is that even going to be enough? It's not enough. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about that then. There's just gonna be wasted dice this turn, but I want to make sure the reshuffle is as thick as possible. So 2 fleets. And I gain these influence, and that will not trigger the reshuffle. I'll claim these as science. Make sure I have enough dice because I need 1 for Nom Nom Mud. That's all I need. That will put me at 16 science. I spend 10 to upgrade. I'll have 6 left over, which will be with 2 cards. And that's as thick as I can make the reshuffle. So there's gonna be a wasted dice, but the next reshuffle will be thick. So tech, colony, study, study, and then don't probe, upgrade, and they're automatically selecting 433. I don't know why when you can just do this. Oh, because that's actually no, right? Yeah, that's 10. Duh. I don't know why I thought 432 was 10 because hashtag math. Yeah, let's leave the encounters in here because encounters are bad. I guess Ultra Tech. That one's hot. Okay, let's put that one back in the deck then. That one's hot. It's hot. Which one do I care more for, Zapfab Mine or Chilonis? I don't think I care about either of those techs. Do I care about influence or diplomacy or energy more? Maybe diplomacy slightly so. So that one's going back in the deck right now. Okay. Oh, but I need to actually... Ooh. How do I do the... Okay. I need 8 signs. So it would be this. That's the only way to get Artisanal Ultra Tech back in, is to also put Solidarians back in. Ugh. Okay. 28 cards in my deck. And we now have inoperability taxes. You may place dice in the salvage area. Ultratech dice may only be used as if they were a color of dice on this card. So, yeah. This is tessellating sprockets is less good, actually. Oh well. I guess I could still go and... Oh, we have to stop the finale. Well, we don't have to do it this turn. Wait a turn so that we can return science. So this might be one that we do want to get rid of because we do have tessellating sprockets and we want to make sure it's maximally valued. So this requires science to shut it down, but it does gain us 1,000,000 ultra text when we do. You don't want to get it like while the finale's going on, because that will make the finale stop harder. We do have 2 plants now. Here's a die by up to 2 if I gain that. Okay, I don't really care about any of those, I don't think. If I gain these cards for science, I'm replacing them with cards that cost fleet to replace. I mean, I could stop the finale now. There's not really a reason to wait a turn. I think it's basically, if I do it now, it's just as good as doing it later. So let's stop the finale. We have 6 dice left over. Deck is full, so we can gain fleets as much as we want. Gaining cards from here is going to be replaced by cards that cost fleets to put. I'm guessing the finale is an instant loss condition? No. If there are X science on the adversary, which is 9, immediately discard the highest science card from the adversary and 10 cards from the deck. It's not a loss immediately, but discarding 10 cards accelerates to the part of the game where we would lose. We have not confronted the adversary a single time, by the way, but we're going to start confronting really quickly. I think we're kind of built up for it now. Okay, so if I gain 2 fleets, I can probe twice, and then I'm not taking any of these cards. We could try to win the game using what we have right now. It's probably gonna be really difficult, but... Let's see. Okay, so I can upgrade. And upgrading means that this is actually cheaper to get if I study those later. On the other hand, it does mean that I don't have the science to... Oh, and I also would have to not spend 12. Yeah, I have to spend 14. Okay, so I'm not upgrading just yet. They have 3 science. Oh my god. Stupid 5. I could almost just confront without tessellating sprockets. I can just calibrate to do it. Or I could do precise calculations. Or get an Ultra Tech. But the Ultra Tech, I can't use the Ultra Tech unless I put the blue science, a blue 3 there. I guess a fleet is not actually that bad. I don't know why I'm so worried about spending a fleet. Just do it. Okay, we finally confronted. Yay! Now what do we want to do? More sciences? More fleets? You can probe at most twice. So that. Can't upgrade. If I do want to get rid of this rule, I want my 12 science anyway. Benefit of upgrading is that studying is cheaper. I could probe one more time. And 3 fleets is cheaper. I don't think I need that. So I'm not going to do it. Or worry about it more when this deck is down. And they also have not flipped. So this is a different setup, and my science or diplomacy is bad, and my materials is bad. Really bad, actually. On average, my rolls would be 15 for both. No, 15 for energy, 12 for diplomacy. So actually, my diplomacy is average. My energy is less average. Okay. But just want to get rid of that. But if I do stop the inoperability taxes happening, I get to roll 4 Ultra Techs. And then I can use tessellating sprockets, and I'll have 6 Ultra Techs, and then I could probably do this very easily. So let's put, has to be these 3, because you can't put any of the 3s in, because then it's impossible to do it evenly. So we'll do that, and this rule is shut down. It does mean that now it's a bit harder because the salvage has to be triggered in order to stop the finale, but now I can always use my Ultra Techs. Okay. So with that now, alright, that's very easily done. Confront it again. Technosiphons is totally fine because we don't have that many techs that we're ever using. Mandatory sightseeing, getting rid of it would be nice, I guess. We can get rid of it right now if we wanted. Sure, let's just get rid of it. Okay. It had cards under there already, so... Or a card. So getting rid of that gets cards back in the discard anyway, so it's good for us. And now we don't have to worry about hoarding fleets for these cards, so we can just study these locations. Probably want to wait until I've upgraded the starbase to do that, because it'll be cheaper. Like, the 2s are only 1 die to study if we're at star class 4. Study Namnamud and do 2 probes, I would say. I don't need fleets that much anymore. Oh, yes! Oh, yes! I high rolled that! I probed and I got 2 4s. Alright. Have to stop the finale to progress. Oh, also, I guess by doing that, I also need to spend 4 fleets to stop the finale. Maybe that wasn't worth. I do have 4 fleets, though. So I can't make any progress on the adversary while the finale has to be stopped. So... 3, 3, 3. I don't have any 3s. Wow. I could roll this 2 and hope to get a 1 with precise calculations. And then I can use my 1s. Might require me to... Well, I'd have to calibrate from a 3, so there's only a 50% chance that works anyway. It was a pretty expensive 5, though. Because now I have to use tessellating sprockets for that one. I mean, like, I have it, so I might as well. Natural 6. Alright. And then I put that in, and that's covered. That's done. And now I can study this with 1 die each. Deck's getting thin, though. So maybe I don't want to do that. Keep the deck thick. I don't think we really need science anyway. I don't really care about any of these locations in the text, so let's gain a fleet. Gain 3 fleets. And let's study these 2. That should only take 3 cards, and then the reshuffle, or the time passes. We'll do a reshuffle, but it is a thick deck, so it should be fine. And the reshuffle will happen during the discover phase, which means that we won't do the adversary event until later. Actually, it didn't even do the reshuffle. Yeah. So that's actually really good. I thought for some reason it was going to do reshuffle, but I mathed wrong, I guess. Because it was 5 cards left in the deck, 1 card for the fleet, 2 cards to replace these, time passes, and the science cards. Yeah, okay, no, that was perfect. Accidentally perfect. This is a really big number. My roll sucks. I want to get rid of my fleets. Let's do this. Because always do this. To confront the adversary, how do I accomplish that? My blues can only go, well, my blues can go anywhere, but only blues can go here. My others can go into 32. I can't go in the blue, except for the Ultratex. So I'm at 25 there. That put it at 31. I am 1 fleet shy of being able to use fleets to accomplish this. That is exceptionally sad. Ah, but I have science. I have science. I can do this. Now also post those cards in the deck. Okay. So that was like 31. Now it's 35 and it needs to be 32. So I can do this, right? Or am I I don't know what this number is. 20, 26, 30, 31, 32. Oh, but that can only be, right. Oh, but I can just do this, right? And then 24, 27, 28, 29, but I can make this that, and that does that. Okay. Yay! And I can get rid of 1 more fleet card, or I could just get rid of all of them if I wanted, but I do need fleets for the next stage anyway. Hoarding 1 is probably okay, because I'd have to regain it anyway. Assuming I win the next rounds, which I should, right? I have to get the science back, I have to get the fleets back, and I have to get to 24, but that shouldn't be too hard. It just depends on what this event is, I guess. But that's all she wrote. Okay. Adminfinity. You may place dice in the salvage area. You may not resolve the starbase unless the total dice value in the gray box is at least as high as the quantity of dice on the starbase. Oh, that's gonna make it hard to get fleets in science, isn't it? But we have like 27 cards in this deck. Our lost condition is if they do a reshuffle, they reveal another adversary event, because at the end of the phase, if there are more revealed events than your Federation level, you are overwhelmed. Currently there are 4 revealed events. I am Federation level 4, so I'm not losing. But if I do another reshuffle, there will be 5 revealed events. My Federation level is 4. So I would be overwhelmed, but I have 3 adversary discs I can spend to avoid getting overwhelmed. So I have a lot of rounds left in this game. It gets tricky if they flip, but I mean, these salvages aren't bad. This salvage would have been bad if I did push for that, but we're not really using text, so it's fine. Okay, so we should be fine. I just need to get to 8 fleets and 12 science over the course of 1,000,000 turns. And in order to resolve the starbase, I need to put... So like if I put 6 here, I can put at most 6 dice here. Let's do this, by the way. So this is 14 dice. If I put this here, I can put 12 dice in the starbase. Currently I have 13. Nice effect here to show that I put too much in, but I can get rid of one of those. I can put it over here, but it doesn't really matter because, I mean, I already have hit the thing. Oh, I actually can't remove this once I do it. Oh, that's rude. But I mean, that is what the rule was. We were asking about this forever ago. Dice placed in experiment boxes cannot be removed once placed, but are returned to the general supply during reset. So once you put a die in here, you're committing to it, but you do have an undo button. But this does remind me of when One Deck Galaxy had just been put into alpha testing. Like, I was one of the first people to play the alpha version of One Deck Galaxy. There was no undo for, I think, the optimization calibrator, where you have like, you can put up to 3 dice here to represent the dice you'd be putting on the influence cards, but you couldn't retrieve them and there was no undo button. So like, if you just put a die in there to play out what you do for the rest of your turn and you changed your mind, you couldn't change your mind. That was really rude. But we have an undo button and we can't remove them, but yeah, so that is good to know that I can't ever touch these dice until after they're removed during results. All right, so 8 fleets. Well, I have a 3 fleet here. I have a 2 fleet here. That puts me at 8 fleets. 12 science. Well, this costs 1 die. If I gain all of these, that's 12 science. So 2, 1, 6, 9. I have 8 dice. So no, I don't have enough to do that, but I can do a probe instead. Somewhere. So if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then probe. Actually, wait. There's 13 science here. I don't need all of this, but I can't get 12 with less than that, so. But it would be like, I gain a 2, a 3, and a 4. That would cost 6 dice, and then I do a probe, and then it doesn't matter what that probe is for. It's guaranteed to get me to 12, so we win next round. They can't flip. Should be able to get to 24 diplomacy very easily. There are unused dice that could be put in the Starbase Research Lab. No. I should probably... I don't know if this is something that needs to be reported. I think it's not a bug per se. Feature. Starbase warning should probably not trigger if you are at the cap for dice with, and I need to double check the name for this rule. Adminfinity. Hitting, what's the word? Engage. I can't control Z to deleted all of that and I have to retype it. Oh man, I can't control Z. Ugh, I deleted everything somehow and then okay. What was the word again? Engage. Okay. Because in a standard game, you would certainly always put all of your remaining dice in the starbase because there's no risk in doing so. But in this case, if I were to put this last die on the starbase, I would not be able to resolve the starbase. You may not resolve the starbase unless the total dice value in the gray box is at least as high as the quantity of dice in the starbase. I only have 12 dice, so yeah. This will be the 13th die, but if I do that, I can no longer resolve the starbase. All right, so I study, probe. I guess I miscalculated. I was not guaranteed to hit 12, but I did. If I got a 2, it wouldn't have worked. I can't math, apparently. And all I have to do is be able to hit 24 diplomacy. I guess if I have a really bad diplomacy roll, I don't do it. Good God. All right. Doing this the hard way, I guess. So this gives me 10. This gives me 14. I have an Ultra Tech here to put it at 20. And then I have an Ultra Tech. Put this at 24. And then 8 and 12. I win! Yay! Game over. Your civilization has fought off the threat and formed a federation that will bring prosperity to your corner of the galaxy. You won. You have proved the Dark Star Syndicate wrong with your Federation's success. Yay. So, somehow I managed to win with the mathematicians. Felt like I was battling the mathematicians more than I was battling the Dark Star Syndicate. The first round of that game was the most stressful, like the first deck cycle, because if I never got that Federation level upgrade, I was going to lose. And we did have that turn where it's like, oh man, these 2 encounters are going to escalate. And if they do, and they put too much science on the adversary, they're going to discard 10 cards. Unless I confront them now. But if I do that, then I don't benefit as much or something, but I don't know. It's kind of weird, like, if I do stop the finale when there are 0 science cards under them, I don't really get the benefit of removing the science card. But if I do when there's 1 science card, I do remove 1 of them. But it's kind of the same either way, isn't it? Because either way, I'd still have 0 cards on the next turn. Confronting them now just has the benefit that I am 1 turn faster, I guess. I don't really foresee too many situations where you can't confront them on the stop the finale side. I guess if you have too many salvages, then it's very difficult. But it's actually kind of interesting because, like, I didn't really realize this. I've played them physically. When I play them physically, I tend to deal with all of their experiments, I think. But there's nothing saying you have to. I mean, inoperability taxes is a bad one. Because now your ultra attacks are worse. Unless you dedicate dice to this. What was the other one? Oh, time dilators. This one's also a bad one because you have to keep dedicating dice every turn. Otherwise, you discard 3 cards for each unfilled box. So this is definitely one you would want to deal with right away, right? And it's kind of difficult because to not discard cards, you have to fill these boxes. But by filling these boxes, you get less science, which means that you spend less turns getting this shut down. Or spend more turns getting this shut down. So you kind of have to find a balance between allowing 3 cards to be discarded sometimes so that you can get more science in a turn so that you can shut this down faster. Adminfinity, also kind of bad, but like, I guess you could dedicate a 6 to this, and then you can put up to 6 dice in the starbase and use your other dice to do other things, I guess. Technosiphons is bad if you don't have too many tech discs and all of your techs are super valuable. But that past game wasn't really a tech game in the end. The only tech I ended up using that much was the tessellating sprockets. Because the mathematician's tech isn't really that helpful anyway, and I never actually used the one for resolving location rows. It can be helpful, but it just wasn't in that game. And then mandatory sightseeing, this one was a bad one. Especially as a first one. Because remember, this is my first one. I had to spend my 2 fleets as well as discard 4 extra cards at the start of my game. This one's the rudest one because it's like, if you have that as your first one, you're just like super sad. I think Ad Infinity is also a bad one to start with, as you can't really get your star base started. You don't have many dice to play with to begin with. You have 10 dice. So, can't really get your star base started. This one sucks a lot, I guess. Actually, I guess Inoperability Tax is like the best one to start with, because you're not really using Ultra Tax at the start of the game that much. Techno-Siphons might be bad as well, as you have 2 techs and only 2 tech discs to start with. Basically says you can't use both of them unless you dedicate something more. But I guess it can be circumvented by not using techs, or you might have a spare 3 you can throw in there to use instead of a tech disc. But yeah, 3 bad events to start the game with. 1 that's not bad at all to start with, and 1 that's more neutral, I guess. Kind of fitting. But we have won the game! And you too can win the game if you play One Deck Galaxy, available on Steam in early access. Darkstar Syndicate has been released. It is the 4th of the 5 adversaries that are available in base One Deck Galaxy. The 5th one, and I was curious about this, I looked it up because I forgot what the remaining adversaries were. The last one is based on the resources. And if they accumulate too many of a particular resource, they will actually pull that event out early and do the things associated with that event. So, also kind of difficult. But, it'd be interesting to see it get implemented digitally. I played this game physically a lot in like January and February and March of the last year, before there was even the alpha for this game. And once there was the alpha, I started just playing it physically. It's not a bad game to play. One Deck Galaxy and One Deck Dungeon are really nice games because they're really small. Like, they're literally 1 deck plus a bunch of dice. So you, like, unlike other games where it's like, if you decide you want to play, say, Spirit Island, it takes 40 minutes or something to set up. Okay, maybe not 40 minutes, but it takes a lot of time to pull out your physical game, set up the board, pull out the cards, shuffle the minor power deck, shuffle the major power deck, get all of the tokens organized, set up the board according to the setup instructions, as well as, you know, the usual decide what spirits you're playing with, decide the adversary and the level. Once you're finally done with the setup, you can actually play the game proper. But now you have to track everything manually. Like, you have to flip the invader card and be like, all right, they explore sands. Which sands are actually explored? And then 5 minutes later, you're like, oh, right, they explored this one as well. I forgot they did that. Whoops. Then 2 hours later, you're done playing the game. But guess what? You have to clean up. And it's 40 minutes to clean up. Or whatever. Maybe not 40 minutes, but still, it's a lot of time to clean up. Digital games are nice because you don't have to do any of that. The game tracks it for you. They're worse because you have to wait for them to get developed. But Handelabra develops games very well. Check out the other Handelabra games that are available, such as Sentinels of the Multiverse, Sentinels of Earth Prime, Bot of the Ninth, One Deck Dungeon, One Deck Galaxy, Aeon's End, Spirit Island, and Horizons of Spirit Island. All available on Steam, iOS, and Android devices, with the exceptions of One Deck Dungeon, which is also available on Switch, and One Deck Galaxy, which is only on Steam on early access. Check out twitch.tv/HandelabraGames to catch our live streams. The next one coming up, I believe Seamus is off for the rest of the year. John might be doing something on Sunday for Spirit Island Sundays. It is Christmas Eve, but he is planning on doing a massive second wave with all 19 spirits that are available. I think it's 19. There's 12 that are available, 10 in the base game, 2 that are in the mini expansions, or Feather and Flame, I think, is technically the expansion that you would call it, a mini expansion still. That includes Wildfire and... I don't know, there's 8, I think it's 8 in the base game. Sorry, I miscounted. 8 in the base game, 2 that are Heart of the Wildfire and Serpent Slumbering Beneath the Island. There's 2 that come from Branch and Claw. There are 5 that came from Horizons of Spirit Island, and then there are 2 that are currently implemented in digital with Jagged Earth in what is currently available in the beta, and will be available, I think, in early access in the new year. I believe the plan for Jagged Earth is that it will be released incrementally in early access, I think. I don't know if that's actually the language they're using, but that is the plan, is that it'll be incrementally released. But there are currently 19 spirits in any case, and I think John is hoping to be able to do a massive second wave with all 19 of them. If you want to catch that, it will be on Christmas Eve. And what time Christmas Eve? All of the time, because it's going to be a long stream. But sure, be sure to catch that and enjoy that. It'll be a great time. What else is there? Right, the live streams are on twitch.tv/Handelabra Games. Follow us on YouTube to catch the VODs of the past games, past streams. You can also follow me personally at twitch.tv/Logic Dolphin. I will be streaming more in the near future, or not even near future, like now. I'm streaming more now, as I am no longer teaching. I have more free time, and I should be able to produce more streams. But that does wrap it up this week. Thank you all for watching. Have a good night.